pretty much conduct everything. I'm just gonna introduce him. You know, he's a brother that I know, man. I met, what it was, probably about 4 years ago at the church. 23? Oh, that's 2 years ago. Man, it seems like it's been longer.
A lot of work.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, so man, I met this brother, man, and he actually came and talked with us, man, and gave us some real nuggets. Actually got a book that he had wrote, and I've been, you know, dabbling a little bit in the book, man. But me just seeing, you know, where the Lord has brought him from, and you know, stuff he's been through, and his motivation. That's what I say. His motivation, man, that it really moved on me. So that's what, you know, Lord put on my heart to call him up. And it's funny though, because you know, most people when doing stuff like this, they charge, you know, or they feel like, man, you know, I ain't finna do that, man. I got bigger stuff to do. But man, this man accepted it as if I told him that I'd pay him whatever, you know, whatever the case may be, you know. But he denied it. He said, man, I'm no free of charge. He said, this is ministry. This is what he do. This is what the Lord put on his heart to do. So I really admire that. So that's the reason why I got him here. I got him here because I know he got a lot that he can teach us. And you know, like we wanted more, you know, the youth or whatnot in here, but things happen for a reason. That's what I do know. I really believe everything happened for a reason. My wife said it earlier when she did the opening prayer for the food. You know, those that's gonna be here, this is who it's for. You know, and I'm glad that he's not a guy that's into numbers. Sure. You know, he is not into numbers. He probably would like for it to just be a few. So I ain't gonna keep talking head off, but you know, my brother Christopher McClendon. So we're gonna let him do what he do, and you know, help us out, and he's gonna tell us a little bit more about himself. Yeah. Let me go ahead and do this right quick.
Scoop, hands, feet.
Out here, the Stevenson High School football team is hard at work getting ready for another season.
You ready to do some arm exercises, Chris? Okay.
While in here, last year's quarterback, Chris McClendon, is doing his own version of two-a-days.
And in. Come on. Pull it in. Pull. Good.
I'm working hard here. It's almost like a football game. So I'm just fighting it by myself. So I treat every day like a championship game and pull through. Football is tough, but
straight up.
This beat football by a long shot.
One. Let's do 10 of them.
Last season, Chris led the Jaguars into the third round of the state playoffs and an 11-2 record. But he won't be playing football in his senior season. Instead, he will be facing the toughest opponent of his life. Some 7 weeks ago, he broke his neck in a car accident. He's been told he may never walk again.
Only for a second, I was down for a little bit. But then I thought about it, and I was like, you know, he can say one thing, but, you know, God can say another thing. So when it comes down to it, it's left up to God whether I'm going to walk or not.
The accident happened in the wee hours of the morning on June 13th here along South Deshaun Road in DeKalb County. It was a rainy night. The car hydroplaned and ran off the road, striking this telephone pole so hard that it split. 3 of the people riding in the car walked away from the accident. The only one who couldn't was Chris, who was riding in the passenger seat.
Of course, you know, I feel like out of 4 people, why me, you know, but I think everything happened for a reason, you know. They probably wouldn't be able to take it as well as I am, you know, so I think God don't put, you know, more than you can handle on you.
The support network for Chris is strong. Family, friends, teammates, and even his 2-year-old nephew, Little Chris, who was named after him. Chris is showing improvement, but he still has a long way to go.
Every day brings about a change, and I can't tell you there are not moments that we don't break down. To see him not being able to pretty much scratch his own head and his face, and it can tear you to pieces, but because of his overall attitude about his walking again, it really helps us.
Stevenson football will go on without Chris under center, but his teammates miss his skills, leadership, but most of all his friendship.
It's like motivation to us because, I mean, he's taking it one day at a time, and I mean, we trying to get a state championship, but he's fighting for his life trying to walk and stuff, so this, I mean, this is motivation to us.
They working hard, and I just asked him to bring me home the championship.
I know he gonna walk, you know what I'm saying? Man, he don't got that bun. So if I gotta walk with him, he gonna walk again.
I'm real confident that I'm gonna be walking out here.
Buck Lanford, Fox 5 Sports.
Good afternoon again. My name is Christopher McClendon, and so I just want to thank Brother Mario and everyone behind the scenes who just helped make this happen. And, you know, everybody for being here. Y'all can come up in front, you know, y'all don't mind. Yeah, I kind of like the intimate circle, you know, to make it more of a conversation, like, you know, just the fellowship vibe, you know. But. Yeah, so I just thank God for you all being here. You know, I'm gonna share with you a few of the events that led up to my accident and where I'm at now. And the topic is we're talking about deeper issues, and I understand that this is a second segment of what had already taken place, you know, last month with the Showtime, the entertainer, I believe. I heard he was great, and the teacher had come through and spoke some good things, you know, and everybody was speaking from their profession and their perspective, and I plan to do the same thing, you know, as a licensed professional counselor to give you all the experience along with the education behind the deeper issues that we experience in life that people really just don't tap into. So I'll start off with like one of the best year of my life was like when I was age 17. I heard you say it was a young buck. Yeah, I was a young buck, but that was the best year of my life. I mean, I don't know. You know, you tell me what you think. You know, I was 17. I went to like the most popular school in DeKalb County. It was Stevenson High School, and I was their star quarterback in my junior year, and I had led us to the third round of the state playoffs, and I just couldn't wait till my senior year. I knew it was going to go down, and statistically, I was the #1 quarterback, you know, in the county, and so I ran a 4.5 in the 40, you know, so I wasn't Speedy Gonzalez, but I get away from it. You know, I bench pressed 275 in my junior year, so I wasn't quarterback at a slide. I lowered the shoulder and let it ride, you know. I was 6'2 and a half, like my man, but can't forget the half. You know, it looked good on the stat sheets, you know. And I threw the ball, you know, blimp high, gun power fast, so much so that I remember breaking one of my receivers' fingers when he was going across the middle, you know. And so that was surface level, but you know, there were deeper issues, but still, I mean, I felt like it was hard to get past, you know, the feint. I wasn't really used to it. There was Max Prep Sports would come out and take pictures on the practice field and was seeing me as, you know, a high prospect. Saturday morning, Fox 5 with Rodriguez, In Your Face Sports would come and we'll see all the team highlights and the damage we did to the other team that night. And reporters would come up to me and interview, and I arrived at school Monday morning and see my name in the paper. You know, that's telling my age, it's social media now, but we had the paper. And so the students and everybody, you know, would reading the paper and seeing my name, and so I was just putting the school on the map, you know, and so it was a wonderful thing, but there were deeper issues, you know, but still, when it came to the women, it was another thing. You know, when it came to the women, I haven't. And you know, I had a lot of BYCs, and you know, you all know what BYC stands for, right? You know, you say no.
I mean,
it was broads yelling, "Chris, Chris!"
Okay.
All right. And you know, it was you know, you was cocky, borderline confident, but that's what made you competitive in the sports market, you know. And but when you kind of like on that status, a lot of things you don't really have to pay for. You attract a big crowd, and that can be dangerous, you know, because that crowd is bringing everything around you. You don't have to pay to smoke weed. You don't have to pay to drink. You know, you get off the school bus, you got the guys, you got the girls. They offering it to you for free, and that's just a ticket just to be in your presence. You know, they felt that you were going to be successful, you know. But I had lived a double lifestyle, you know. Football player by day, you know, by night. Was an underage drinker and smoker, habitual fornicator, you know, and a burglar, you know, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I was out here in licks, you know, I wouldn't go into any houses. It didn't justify anything, but, you know, I would hit commercial stores. We needed a little extra money for the house, and that's what I would do. And that was the deeper issues, you know, and the Bible said, in Matthew 6:24, he said you can't serve 2 masters. You know, he said you're going to either love one or hate the other. You're going to have to hold on to one or despise the other. You can't love God and money, you know. And so with this double lifestyle, you know, I'm here to tell you all, like, you can't pursue your dreams and then, like, pursue the streets as well. Like, the streets will spit you out, you know. And that's exactly what it did to me. And so some of the events that led up to my accident, 2 weeks before my accident, I had just come back from University of Georgia, their football camp, you know. And this was an exciting time. And, you know, Satan just don't like when you're doing too good. You know, he try to disrupt you. And so I believe that warning comes before destruction. I believe before God, you know, destroys anything, he warns you. And whether you pay attention to that warning, whether you ignore it or just blatantly disobey it, I mean, that's on you. But he warns you. What it's in Amos 3, chapter 3, verse 7, he says, surely he does nothing, you know, without letting his prophets know. And so 2 days before my accident, it was June 11, 2004. This is where my warning was coming from. Now, it was one of the best days ever of the summer. We were out of school, of course. I was living in the apartment complex. I had my friends over, the girls over, the pool was open. Guys were shooting some dice. My mama was upstairs cooking some bubble burgers. I mean, just keeping them in the pan with the cheese just melting on the burger. Get the buns, sop it in the, you all know about that, you know, the marinades. Oh my goodness, you know, got me salivating just thinking about it, you know. And we were having a good time. And so morning turned into night and we still out there. And I was walking up and down the neighborhood with a female friend, somebody I was trying to get to know on a personal level, you know. And I was looking for my guys who had went off to go smoke some weed. I wanted to find them. And as I was walking down, I heard this whisper. It came into my ear and it said, Chris, go in the house. It's like, wow, okay. And so I just dismissed it. And I kept walking, you know, I was looking for the guys, you know, where is the bud, where is the bud? And I couldn't find these guys. And for a second time, same voice, a little louder. He said, Chris, go in the house. I said, whoa, okay. I looked to my friend, I say, hey, you trying to tell me something? She said, no. I was like, you sure? You're not trying to say go in the house? She was like, no. I was like, man, it's crazy. So, you know, I opened that message, but I left it on red like a text message. You know, I just couldn't understand the voice. Still looking for these guys, you know, where is the bud? Where is the bud? For a third time, Chris, go in the house at his loudest peak. It was like a very intrusive voice that just disrupts all your thoughts. Okay, that's what it feels like. But only you can hear it. It was internal. And I was like, wait a minute now, hold on. I was like, I know I'm not hearing voices. And, you know, I was like, man, am I in trouble? I was like, I got my boys over there. They you know, they scoop away. You know, I feel good on that. I was like, I'm not high. I'm not drunk. You know, I haven't consumed anything. I felt more sober than a Muslim on Ramadan month. I was like, what's going on? And so what so happened is, on that day, I had my sister's cell phone in my pocket, okay? And the Bible says that his sheep know his voice, but they don't listen to the voice of a stranger. And the Bible says that when he calls, they answer. Well, I couldn't answer God. I didn't know his voice. It wasn't familiar. But when the phone rang, it was my sister's homeboy, and He was like, man, what you doing? I was like, man, nothing. Where your sister? I don't know. I knew where she was. I was about to come smoke a blunt with you. I was familiar with that voice. Wow. That is the voice I answered. Come on through, okay? Came through, you know, drunk 211s, consumed the marijuana. At this point, I had put God on block. He could no longer get to me. I drowned out my conscience, okay? I ignored the warning. June 11th, night before my accident, it's going into June, 12th. I heard one guy say that you need to go to sleep in the same day you woke up in, okay? Well, we didn't. It was June 11th and we stayed up until June 12th. June 13th, it was June 12th and we stayed up until June 13th. That was the night of the accident. So, June 12th, it was a party. It was raining cats and dogs so bad. I mean, I couldn't even believe that many people were out. I guess we were just bored from being in the house all summer or whatever. It was thick. And I had rolled to the party with none of my teammates, none of my football players. It was all my street side, okay? You gotta be careful who you hang around with. Right. And I'm in this party, and on this night, I'm just wanting to chill. I'm just wanting to relax. Lo and behold, I look to the side. One of my guys is in a brawl with 3 other guys surrounding him. I had, ran over there, intervened, chairs flying, DJ booth being cracked, party ended. It was a real, real dark night, real dark night. I remember running outside into the car. We had D in the back passenger seat, Dirty D behind me, T in the driver's seat, and me in the front passenger seat with no seatbelt on. And it was a real dark night. I remember this guy hopping out his car, and he pulled a gun on the driver, T. And something amazed me. T got out the car, walked up to the guy, and said, "What you gonna do with that gun?" I don't know what had gotten in him. I never seen him act like that before. But whatever that guy saw in his eyes, he put the gun away and got in his car. That was who the driver was, okay? I truly believe something was in the driver on that day, all right? So we speed off, we get to the stop sign. I'm about to have to make one of the biggest decisions of my life. Ironically, right is gonna take me home to safety. Left is gonna take us on a night of unpredictable acts and pleasure seeking. Seemed like we was there for the longest. We made a decision to go left. Last thing I remember, car lights flashing, coming across us. Hit the telephone pole, boom. Split it. Car was crushed. I seen the driver get out, T, to go assess the damage. I tried to do the same, and my entire body just went limp and started falling into the driver's seat. And as I was falling, I looked back and I saw my 2 guys, D and Dirty D, they were slumped over. I thought they were dead. And I couldn't hold myself up. And I screamed to him, "T, help!" Just screaming. And he gripping my arm, my right arm, just pulling my ligaments out, pulling my socket out, just tearing my arm, trying to keep me up. Until the ambulance had come, cut me out the car. I got transported to Grady Hospital, one of the finest trauma hospitals around. And I remember lying on my bed with this neck brace on and all these tubes in my nose. And I could barely lift my neck up. And I heard Fox 5 and 11 and Channel 2. Chris McClendon had been in a horrific accident. I'm thinking to myself, man, this must be serious. Next thing I know, the doctor walked in. My mother is behind the doctor in silence. They had already given her my diagnosis. I didn't know. He said, "Chris, you were in a bad car accident, man." He said, "You fractured your C4, your C5 vertebrae." Like, man, what is this, biology, man? What? Man, doctor, am I gonna walk again? He said, "No, the spine it's incurable." I blacked out. saw my mom, she ran out. She couldn't take it. She was crying. She didn't know how I was going to respond. My oldest sister ran in. Chris, pouring hope into me. Brother, you remember the football player from UGA who we had just seen 2 weeks ago? He had broken his neck. And they said he would never walk again. And the next year he was back playing football. Brother, that could be you. That could be you. But my body was a contradiction to everything she was saying. So a week later, they transported me to Shepherd Center Hospital, one of the best spinal cord hospitals in the world. This is where the actor who plays Superman, this is where he went to when he had broke his neck after he had fallen off the horse. That's right, Christopher Reeve. And I was there to, get as much rehabilitation as I can and start to learn how to live as a quadriplegic, what this life was going to be like, how you were going to eat, how you were going to live in a wheelchair, how you were going to ask for help and so many other things. It was a huge life change, 17 years old. And I had a lot of support, friends and family who had come from out of town, strangers who had saw the news report, whether, through the paper and on TV, and they would all come and support me until one day no one showed up. And I was alone, man. I was left with my thoughts. That's a dangerous place to be sometimes. Okay. And I remember crying out to God, and I said, Lord, I'll stop it all. I stopped the drinking, I'll stop the smoking, whatever. The whole lifestyle, I'll throw it away if you allow me to walk again. Okay. I give my life to you. Just allow me to. I don't care if I walk fast. I don't care if I walk slow. Lord, just let me walk again. Yeah. Compassionate prayer, sincere prayer, but I don't think that's the prayer that got God attention at all, And I remember praying another prayer days later. And I said, Lord, okay, if this is how it's going to be, if I'm going to be in this wheelchair for the rest of my life, okay. Just let me know what you want me to do from here. Let me know how you want me to proceed. I believe that was the prayer that got God's attention. It was a prayer of surrender. It wasn't a prayer of contingency, if this or if that. It's I'm going to serve you whether I get better or whether I get worse. I'm going to serve you whether I walk again or whether I stay in this chair. I'm going to serve you whether I get sick or whether I'm healthy, whether I'm poor, whether I'm rich. Job said it this way in Job 13:15, though he slay me, I'm going to trust in him. Whether I live or whether I die, I'm going to serve you. That's the prayer, I believe, got God's attention. One day in Shepherd Center, I tried to move my leg, and it moved. My left leg, it moved. And I called in the nurses. I said, my leg, it moved. They said, do it again. I said, I can't. They say, oh, baby, that was just a muscle spasm. It happens with the spinal cord injury as you're trying to send the electrical shock down to the signal. I said, all right. A few days later, I had tried to move my leg again, and it moved again. You see, what had happened is it had taken me everything for that first move to get there. And my leg was so fatigued that when they came, I couldn't do it again. Okay. And so I called them in. I say, it moved. They say, do it again. And I did it again. And so they called in the doctors, and you were only supposed to be there for about 3 months, And I moved again, and so that little kick, that little twitch turned into a kick. That kick turned into a jump. That jumped into a stand. And they kept me for 3 months to 6 months to 9 months, and I was walking again. I say, man, thank you, God. There was a doctor. She was an atheist at Grady. She said, I'm not a religious person at all, but that wasn't the work of man. The doctor said me being able to walk again is like, making a shoestring come to life. That's what they told my sister. You know, hard news, right? Thank you, God, I'm up, I'm walking. But I forgot, I made a commitment to God. I said I was gonna serve him. You know, I said I was gonna work for him. I couldn't forget about that. So I said, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go preach the message. Warning comes before destruction. Jesus loves you. Listen to God's voice. And so I went to my high school and my peers and I warned them, hey, warning comes before destruction, you know. Jesus loves you, you know, listen to God's voice. And I went to other schools, Villa Rica, Georgia, going all across Georgia, Pebblebrooks, McClendon High School, school rivals everywhere, churches everywhere, you know, warning comes before destruction. Jesus loves you, listen to God's voice. And then I said, well, what about the people in jail? We're gonna talk to them. We're gonna help them. So I volunteered at the Juvenile Detention Center for 2 years and bust open the prison doors and was telling the youth, you know, warning comes before destruction. Jesus loves you. Listen to God's voice. And so I started a little talk show ministry or whatever. And they were telling me, they were like, Chris, well, you're only limited to what you can do because it's just your opinion, you know. You don't have a license or anything. You can be sued. You have to let them know. You don't have an education. You don't have a degree. Now, I didn't like school, but I remember what I committed to God. And I said, if this is what it takes to take the limits off, so be it. So I bust open the university doors. I said, let me get the degree. Let me get the license. Let me take the test. Here you go. Now let me get back to doing what I was doing before. Warning comes before destruction. Jesus loves you. Listen to God's voice. And as the news tape said, I went to go study psychology and counseling and went to school and eventually started my private practice. And within the private practice, I was able to integrate spirituality and psychology, you know. And I don't see them as enemies, but I see them as allies. You know, I believe that science is God's works and the Bible is God's word, you know. And so I integrate the two to bring about change. It says he's the God of heaven and earth, okay? And so I speak from a psychoanalytic perspective. And that fancy word just means that I look at our early experiences in life and find out some of the ways that people may have had to adjust or cope or adapt to certain situations in their lives and see how it was so much needed at that time. But as they grow older, they still use those same methods. Okay. And it's no longer useful, and as a matter of fact, it's becoming counterproductive. It's starting to hinder them. For example, let's say if a child grew up in a domestic violent home, okay? A lot of domestic violence, and when the yelling and the fussing and the fighting would go on, they would run to their room and, you know, they would isolate and they would just stay there, you know, it was safe, right? Well, as an adult, when they're in a romantic relationship or something like that and conflict happens, rather than addressing it, what they do is they go run into the room. And so now is what once fixed the problem is now causing the problem. And so I want to sit in the theater of their lives and hear their stories and understand what's going on. And I tell them now that you're older, you're stronger, and provide the skills so they don't have to go and isolate anymore. It may be assertive communication skills. It may be conflict resolution skills. It may be setting up appropriate boundaries so you won't get into relationships in the first place that you have to try to get yourself out of those relationships. And so that's psychologically deep. But I integrate spirituality for those who want it to go even spiritually deep. You see, because you can have a behavioral change, but your mindset still be the same. Okay. And so, changing the thoughts, you know, that's a good thing. You know, it's psychological deep. You know, but it gets deeper than that. If you have a bad thought, psychology can teach you to have a good thought. Okay. But what about the bad thought? I mean, how do you stop them from coming? They keep coming. I have newer thoughts, but I can't get rid of the old thoughts. Well, when you go spiritually deep, you see, the Bible says, you know, that evil thoughts proceed out of the heart. That's where they're coming from. They're proceeding out of the heart. Psychology can't deal with the heart. God has to come and deal with the heart. You see, because the heart is basically it's the appetite of the human being. It's the soul. It's the things that we crave. You know, what it is, a herbivore. You know, their nature is to eat plants. You know, whereas a carnivore is to eat meat. It's within their nature. And so the soul, it craves a particular thing. You know, it craves a sin. And so the Bible says a leopard can't change its own spots. We can't change that. And so I only serve as a facilitator of that change. And this is why the Bible says you have to become a new creature. And so it gives you a different appetite. And it starts to produce pure thoughts. Okay? It starts to produce better thoughts, thoughts that do not have contention, you know, thoughts that are not argumentative. And so sometimes where the devil gets you is that you would have a thought in your mind and you think it comes from your heart. And you'd be like, I thought I was changed. Every thought that's in your mind, it doesn't mean it's yours. Okay? And that's why the Bible says you got to cast down certain thoughts. You got to dismiss it. That's not my thought. Because the thought, it tries to fornicate with your emotions. Okay? And it produces a behavioral action. Then it becomes yours. Because now you're emotionally attached to it. And all a thought wants to do, because the thought is invisible, but all it wants to do is a thought wants to interact with your emotions, because once your emotions are influenced, the chances are it's going to produce a behavior. You're going to do something. You know? If I think this person wronged me, that's a thought. What is it going to do? It's going to interact with anger. What is anger going to do? Anger is going to do something about it. Boom. Now that's yours. And that's how it starts. And so that is the approach that I go to, and that's what I do. So to help people focus on their deeper issues, because if you don't address, like myself, if you don't identify and address your deeper issues, eventually your deeper issues are going to deal and address with you.
Are you saying the thought is the voice?
Yeah.
So then, what you mentioned earlier in your story, the voice came and you didn't choose, but that was January 11th. The accident happened January 12th.
Mm-hmm.
What did that voice, how did it impact the January 12th?
So on January 11th, I ignored it.
I know, but you ignored what? I'm trying to see, because the logic of the thought versus the emotions, then yes, then the behavior really does make sense, right? I can see that. But the thought is the voice, right? In retrospect, let's believe I'm not a very religious person, right? However, what I don't believe is a literal voice came, but you need to describe in words to get us to feel what you feel. So you're using the word voice.
Wait. Okay, so like,
So let me make sure I'm understanding you correctly. So you're saying I think what you're asking me is, did I hear a voice with kind of like literal vibration?
No. The thought that came, something gave you a thought that you saw that made you say it was the voice, but it made you should have listened to it. I'm trying to connect on if the thought the voice, but if it was the thought, it's two stories. If it was, well, not really. I'm giving you the description so you can understand what I'm saying. But if it was a thought, how did that thought, whatever it is, I'm trying to get you to remember, how did it impact July 12th?
How did it impact? Okay. So I believe what was happening was that thought, if I would have listened to it, I believe it would have prevented other things from happening on July 12th. You see, God was trying to tell me to go in the house on 11th, okay? From there, he probably wanted to speak with me more. But I had drowned him out, so on 12th, we was intoxicated again, so I couldn't hear from him. I couldn't hear from him. God, some people say God is your conscience, but the Bible says God speaks through your conscience. But I had an intoxicated conscience, so I couldn't hear the warning or any other thing that was coming after that. Great question.
He just said like me, he said I'm not a religious person. I think that's why he questioned the voice.
Yeah.
I think when you become, and I'm not saying, I'm the same way. And I feel like I done got in a lot of situations and I've heard these same voices. But I'm like, you really don't listen to that. Like, and I ended up in prison, I ended up shot.
And with me,
to do the same thing.
I don't hear a voice. It's a smell I get. When I was in the county back in the day, when I was locked up, I used to smell this apple shampoo that they used to use. I swear to God, bro. If we outside, I smell that. And nobody else don't smell. I'd be like, man, I'm going home. And they be like, what you mean? I'd be like, it's the smell that I get. I swear to God, bro. And I get a chill over my whole body. I'm going in the house. I don't care where I was going, but what I was about to do, I stopped. And I just go in the house. And I think that's my voice. It's a smell I get. It just comes to me. And I get a real chill. I get a whole chill, like. And I just go in the house. I'll be scared to death. I go in the house.
Could I say something real quick?
Yeah, God speaks in different ways.
In certain cases, it might not be a voice. It can be a spiritual thing that you have a connection to, or that you was connected to, that can, like he said, send chills down your spine or give you a warning that, oh, this means something is gonna happen, and I don't want that towards me or the other people. So you end up going the opposite direction of that bad area. So, and I think that God and Jesus is working on certain people to bring connection towards him, to bring him closer. And like people, like he said, not everybody listens to that voice. And in that case, if it's not the voice, it's going to be different connections that different people have, or what they've done in life that may have struck in fear in them, or made them feel like, oh, I don't want to do this. So I think that if you don't listen to the voice of God, he's going to have other ways to have a communication with you.
Did you know, he made me think something. He made me think something. Did you know that smoking weed was bad?
Yeah.
Or did you have a feeling? Or whatever that's fun that you considered, did you think that was something you should have done? I ain't gonna say bad. Bad is get that word out. Did you think you were doing right? Let me ask that question.
No, I thought I was, as an athlete, first of all, I thought I was doing wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you thought you were doing wrong?
To be consuming marijuana and alcohol.
So hear me out, okay? Then could that have possibly then be the thoughts that came, or the voice that came? at that moment as you were seeking something that you know that was not right.
I see.
So you knew it, so the voice came, that was the thought.
It could be
No,
because
he's
he was trying to go left or right.
No, what I'm trying to
he's saying
understand.
when he was looking for his boys for the bud.
Was that my conscience?
He's saying was that.
There you go. Yes,
Was
yes,
that
yes.
my
I'm trying to
yeah.
follow me.
You know
here.
you
It ain't about the
wrong.
religious
No, I know what you're
thing.
saying.
I'm
He's
trying to
saying,
stick. I'm trying to stick
He
to
was
the.
probably speaking like, you know you wrong, boy. Go
Yeah.
home.
Was it
You
my
have a very
conscience?
good. You have a very good flow with the thought versus the
Was it my
listen to
conscience?
that
Yeah,
thought,
telling
to
me
the
the higher voice.
behavior, because the behavior does then lead to, and then the action. And then once the action comes, the only thing that other people see is what you did. So then it becomes the new person, when in reality, that thought, depending upon the situation, really never existed, and you caused a problem or ripple in your life that really didn't have to occur.
That's good. So I'll say this: when there's a thing of familiarity, you know, if Mario closes his eyes and his children start to speak to him for a minute, and his family, his wife, and many of you all in here, I'm sure he would be able to identify who it is. Even if the voice patterns sound the same, there will be a character difference in a sense. And so one of the ways when you're talking about a thought, it's a character difference in the thought. The thoughts that comes from God when you have this familiarity as far as me and how I related what was happening then to when I started to get familiar with him later is that there was a character correlation in that thought than in the other thoughts that I've had before. And so there was a discrepancy. And that's kind of how I was able to distinguish the two. And that wasn't my first rodeo with marijuana and alcohol. And that was like a unique thing that happened on that day. So I hadn't heard it in times where I was consuming it and I knew that it was wrong, even when we snuck out of church on watch night service to go consume. At any point, I thought I would have made it heard it then, but no. But that's it. I like the way you dissected that. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
I think that's interesting that you said that, because I always, like, when I'm around you, I always learn. Like, you deep. I'm not a deep person, but you deep. But it's like, dang, he on my level. How did he? And I don't know if that's a thing because you teach, but it's like you will get me to understand things, even though it's like real deep. And I would have thought of that. But from a person, speaking for myself, I would say, being that we're speaking about the voices. Being that when you have trauma has its own voice in your head. And if you don't address it, whether it's spiritually or physical, because everybody's not spiritual, then it's gonna always speak. And I think you said something that really made me happy, and he kind of came back to it because it reminds me of me. And because of the trauma, because I didn't deal with it, I thought it was just me. And I'm like, okay, the intrusive thoughts or this happening or me wanting to say something and do something was me. But it wasn't me. It was a trauma that I had experienced. It's not until I got with a professional therapist that I was able to realize, hey, that's not you. But then, and this is even after having a relationship with God. Like, so that voice was so loud that even though he spoke to me very softly, the trauma was like really, like you said, it's a sound or something in your, that you have never heard before. And so for myself, just being transparent, now when that voice speaks, because not the trauma part, but like you said, the thought that's not yours that comes to scratch at, or you said give me the word you use, fornicate.
Okay.
It comes it comes because that's fornication. We all think that fornication is sex before God. It's putting anything before anything that you take in of idolatry, whatever you want to, anything that you take in that is taken away from Him, that's not of Him, is fornicating. So I had to see a therapist for her to help me realize that. And so even though I chose a therapist that was not just black, I chose a woman, but I also wanted her to be spiritual because I too am spiritual. And so now when those thoughts come, it sounds different because now my body reacts to it differently. My attitude, it's almost like anxiety. People say, I don't want to characterize it as anxiety, but I know my heart starts to beat a little fast. And then I get a little shortness of breath, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You know what I'm saying? And then it keeps coming, but it's slick. Unlike when God speaks to me, or I cast that thought to Him, it's a totally different feel. It's almost as if it reminds me of the release I had when I had my children.
I was just about to ask you, not to cut you off. Do you feel like it's a stored emotion? Because what we don't realize is that we store emotions, and if we don't release them, they're there, and they're gonna always reappear. And when they reappear, it's into wherever you are in life. You could be spiritual. He's not spiritual, so he's never gonna feel the spiritual aspect of it because he don't feed into that. That doesn't feed him. But your trauma, because you are spiritual and you look for your spirit God, because I believe that our God is not separate. When we talk in innocence of God, we always say Him. Is He separate from us? So if He is a separate person from us, if we look in the mirror, the image in God, it says we are made in His image. Where if you look in the mirror, the image is you. So if the image is you, then where are you going? If it's the spirituality, are you going outside of you looking for it? Because when most people say God, they look up, they look out. So you can't, and they does not internalize it. So if you don't internalize it, I almost look at it, it's like you give it away, you store it in a place where you can't really release it because you don't know how. Because you're looking outside for that power that you have you ever heard everything that you have in your life, that's all you need? But we always looking for all these things that we think to make us more successful or get us to a different level. We look for them outside of us. And we go and seek them outside. Like you say, therapists, all these other people, when what you need is really right there within you. But do you meditate to go find it? Do you do certain things with yourself to come in one with yourself, to line up with yourself in order to tackle it? Because I feel like when I go into meditation and I deal with things, the outcome is a lot different than when I try to go on a spiritual trip with it. I get mixed I get mixed thoughts, and it spin me back around to the same trauma. So it's just how we look at it. Some people look at God as a separate entity, as us. I don't. I feel like God is me. God is within me. And if I'm that image and I'm looking at that image, I need to pull from that strength because we hold that strength. It's in the power of our tongues. It's in the power of everything that we walk, because every day, nobody walks with you every day. But guess what? In every decision that you make, be it good decisions or bad decisions, at the end of the day, you're the person that has to deal with that decision. You're the person that has to correct that decision. You're the person that got to go to jail for it. You got a person that deal with the results of it. You see what I'm saying? So that's another thing we have to tackle, is that thought. Is we storing that thought? And how, if we're storing it, how do we release it?
And piggybacking after that, and surrounding yourself with people that you're vulnerable enough to release it with. You know, some people, especially like black people, black men, we don't open up to nobody, we don't talk to nobody about nothing. But if you surround yourself with like-minded people that's looking to
That
get
open it up
within and go within themselves and become better people, it's a lot easier to find your spirits, go spiritually, personally, and become a better person in general. I feel like
That's rare for a young man like that. And like I tell you about Jaleel all the time. I love the way they talk. You know what I'm saying? AJ ain't about to say nothing. He gonna sit there like this.
That comes with exposure. So when you expose them, well, when he was young, I always felt like if I never take him outside of the box, because sometimes we think if we move our kids to a white school or a better school, that's gonna make them a better person. Or if we put them in a different surrounding, that would dictate how they life or how they think. Well, what I started doing with my kids very young was taking them international. Because if they can't think, you want a person to think globally, but they only seen it in a map or a globe.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you want them to become globally, put them in the vast
I'm just speaking on the aspect of being outspoken.
Yeah.
I'm just speaking on that aspect. As the young men nowadays aren't outspoken at all.
But a lot of times they won't open up because the environments that they're around doesn't allow. Right, they don't allow them to. Like sometimes, even in my household, they are allowed to have their own opinions, whether I agree with it or not. We can come back to the table as long as it's not disrespectful. You can have your own opinion. You can have your own religion. I used to grow up in the church. I hadn't been to church in 20 years until recently, about 6 months ago, when my girlfriend invited me to a church, and I started back coming to the church because it reminded me of my church that I grew up in. I grew up in a very small church, and my grandparents were the founders of the church. So the devotion and all of that it almost, like childhood. When you go back to your childhood, that's what that church brought to me. It brought my whole childhood back to me, and every time I come to it, it makes me feel like I'm at home because that's what I'm familiar with. Mm-hmm. So it goes back even to those childhood memories. Mm-hmm. See, we even as adults, I walked away for 20 years. Never seen the church, and they came back and said, "Mama, why we don't go to church no more?" I said, "It's not up to me to tell you to go to church. Even if I don't go, I'll make sure you get there. But right now, I've taken a back seat with church." And so that's just to piggyback on, just kind of rounding it out. It's just that the environment that they're put in is what makes them think. That's what makes them open up. And when we allow them, even as parents, when we allow them to speak and we allow them to know that they have a voice, then they will speak. But a lot of times you've been like this.
No, I don't. I don't. I tell my son, talk to me. I'm your best friend. Everything. It's not that he don't talk. It's just that that's just this generation is just like that.
My son,
this generation is like that. I see it every day. These kids come in here, we have to make them talk. Speak up, young man. They be like, "Oh, okay."
It's because I feel like the reason that is, especially with our generation, it's all about perception. How everybody look at you.
Mm-hmm. I be telling them that too.
Especially when they talk and open up and speak up, they don't know how to feel. They don't know how to open up.
It's they care about what somebody gonna feel instead of just being right. I'm with you.
And I think you add on to the conversation of one more thing. I just think sometimes with kids, adults talk at kids instead of with kids. Right. Mm-hmm. And sometimes learning comes with social conversations of difficult topics, right? It's one thing to have an opinion, but let me see how you conversate with that opinion, which then connected back to the emotion part when they feel it, where you can talk to someone, because then they're better equipped to talk to. They can't speak because they're not speaking in that topic or arena of feelings or topic of arena. They're only speaking fluently with things they like, social games, because that's what they feel comfortable talking with. So in the arena. So it's just a matter of giving them that opinion and talking, conversating with them, and then guiding those opinions if you
Gotcha.
do hear that the opinion is wrong?
Gotcha.
I think I would like to add that also I have a son. However, my son, until he started really coming into the shop, he came in as a little guy. I think DJ came here when he was like maybe 8, 9. But he was a little guy. He's 16.
Yeah, about 8.
And so the trauma for him was his father and I separating, divorcing. So that was, he didn't have, his dad wasn't that person that was speaking to him and talking to him and pouring into him like I see most, like the young men here. And so, but it wasn't until he came here to where I started seeing a different side of him, because Crick and both Mario would say, go outside, go somewhere, he good here. And, he started to open up and speak to Crick about stuff. And so I had to take a back seat. But that was a different shift in him. He would, Crick would say, hey, you need to, hey, sit up straight, do this, do that. Open your mouth when you're talking, do this, do that. And a shift happened because, again, there was somebody pouring into him. There was another male pouring into him. So that was the importance that I said, okay, let me check myself. Let me start making sure he's surrounded by men that are going to pour into him. Even if his dad wasn't doing it, it was my duty to make sure he was around men that were going to do it. Mm-hmm. And so that made a big difference in how he reacts now. Even when he come in here, he's looking at y'all in y'all eyes. It's not that because his spirit was broken. And I'm an educator, but there are certain things in my realm because I'm just a mom. I can't, I'm a lady. I can't raise them. I can't raise a man. So let me hand them to y'all and do what y'all need to do.
Can't believe you said that. Women can't. They don't say that.
Women don't say that.
God,
they speak about
tell you can't raise these boys by yourself.
Yeah, they speak about the younger generation as being more relational, being present, being there, and my generation, and that's Generation Z. In my generation of millennials, we were more dialogue, we wanted to have those conversations, sometimes the generation before that, Generation X, it was like, hey, we say it is the way it is, but our generation, we came, let's talk about it. I mean, am I your son or am I your adult son? Like, are you going to, I want to talk. And in this generation, it's more about being time. My wife, my daughter, she's 20, she's in college, and when she had come home, me and my wife were just gonna go out, and she was like, we're just going up to the store, why you wanna ride? And it was just the relationship, it was just the presence, it was just the being there, it was just the being around, the connection. And I think that is, it's a little bit difficult in these days because there are so many distractions in the home.
Absolutely.
So many distractions. We're all over the place, and just to speak on trauma a little bit, I heard a lot of people talking about trauma. Is trauma is treatable and is beatable. Okay, trauma is an injured brain, where there's a loss of blood flow to the amygdala, where your emotions are held, so you can have a lot of emotional dysregulation. But when it comes trauma, what heals trauma is new experiences, having new experiences in your life. So when you think about that thing that may have caused trauma to you, you can start to think about it in a new way, and you have to create those new experiences. But a lot of times it's hard to create those new experiences because people will run back to the things that they're familiar with, and those same familiar things hurt them, and it's kind of like over and over and over and over again. So it's treatable and it's beatable. And one of the things, I'm just kind of summing some of the things that I heard within all of the comments when we're talking about thoughts. There is a psychological part about it, and there is a spiritual part about it, right? the psychological part, without spirituality attached to it anyway, is called the cognitive distortions. And those are just distorted ways of looking at reality. Okay, and this, psychology believes that, you have the trigger, that's experiences, or that's just lifing. Okay, and then from the triggers, and triggers can be good or bad, but we're looking at them in a bad way this time. And from the triggers transpire the thought, how you are interpreting that experience, whatever you've been through. Okay. From there is the emotion, transpire to the emotion, the action, and the action, the behavior. Now, in that sequence, where do you first start having control? Is it in the experience, the thought, the emotion, the action, or the result? Where can you first start to have control?
In the thought.
In the thought, okay. So, and you're right, but what keeps a person from being able to change their thoughts, their interpretations, is the cognitive distortions, okay? These cognitive distortions, they are something like should statements. You should not, I should, I must, I ought, okay? These cause some sort of guilt if you don't do what you felt like you should have done at this particular age. And these are basically just rules, rigid rules that we create for ourselves in order to feel some sort of achievement or accomplishment. And so when we don't do the things we feel like we should do, or we must, or we ought, we feel guilt. And when others don't do the things that we feel that they should do or must do, then we start to resent them. You should have done this, you should, and that is a distortion. It keeps you from being transformed. Emotional reasoning, that's another distortion. Because I feel this thing, it must be true. The more intense the feeling is, the more true it must be. Right? Filtering, that's another cognitive distortion. Filtering is where you magnify the negative and you de-emphasize the positive. Okay, it's like a dime in the sun. We know the sun is bigger than the dime, but if you hold the dime close enough to your eye, it can block out the sun. And so through our experiences, we magnify the negative things, and it maintains that distorted view that everything is so bad, that people are so bad because we're not paying attention to the other things. Catastrophizing, that's another cognitive distortion. Thinking about the worst case scenarios ever, okay? Oh wow, if my daughter go out on this date, this guy's gonna look at her, she's gonna get pregnant, she's gonna be home with me, she's not gonna have a job, she's not gonna have college, she's gonna be on the street, she's gonna be on welfare, it's gonna be horrible, then she's gonna have more kids. Woo! They're gonna grow up without a daddy, then they're gonna get shot and killed, I'm just gonna be a bad, And these things can keep going, and it's like, the thing to this is like, it could happen, it could. But now we're looking like probability. What is the probability of this thing actually happening? Where is the evidence to support this? So that is, those are, and there are like 12, 13 different cognitive distortions, mind reading, thinking you know what someone is thinking without checking it out. And you start to judge them and criticize as if it's true, and so many of those. So that keeps a person from being transformed in their mind and thinking clearly about things. Just shortly on the religious side, it's more so, they say the thoughts of the flesh, it's obvious, it'd be like lust, murder, envy, strife, contention, and all those things. So if those are the thoughts that are coming through your mind, it's kind of a contradiction from the fruit of the Spirit. The Bible says the wisdom from above is first pure. If the thought is not pure, it's not of God. It says it's full of mercy, not only for those, but for yourself. If you have a thought that is so critical, that just makes you feel bad and leads to suicide, they say it's a godly sorrow and then a worldly sorrow, and the worldly sorrow leads to death. And if that thought is coming in, it's not a God. It says the thought produces good. The end result should produce good, not bad. You shouldn't have to do bad to get good. It's not a godly thought. And so these are the things that whether, on the spiritual level, on the psychological level, they both can hinder us from being able to transform our mind so we can, live better lives. And so those are the deeper issues that, we have to address, on every level. Yeah. Yeah. So, sparked some good conversation. Yeah. Where are we? What time is it? Are we?
It's 6:30.
Like 30 minutes.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I want to say that, of course, I'm from the old school. I taught my kids very differently. I hear a lot of you all saying, allow your kids to speak their mind and all that stuff. But see, when I was growing up, I couldn't speak my mind. So if my father say what he say, then that's just what it is. But see, I had to learn, and it bothered me in learning. It really bothered me to get out of that old way of thinking, because it's almost was like to me that, okay, well now they've taken advantage of my kindness. Put my foot down. And if I put my foot down or lift it up and allow them to speak their mind, allow them to say whatever they want to say, then the first thing I'm going to say, well, hold on for a minute. So where are you getting your teaching? Where are you getting your learning from? Because we're teaching these kids everything they need to know at home, but then when they get around their peers, their schoolmates, then they done forgot all about what you done taught them. Well, now, when they come back home, now you're gonna have to say, hold on for a minute. Whatever you got going on at school need to stay at school. Because when you come into this house, I don't care how somebody else is teaching their kids, but listen, this is how it's being taught here. I'm the type of person, I will come to you and tell me what's on your mind. Don't sit at the table and you're being quiet or you're on your cell phone and I can just see that there's something that you need to talk about. So I'm going to ask you, hey, talk to me about, so what's going on in school today? How you feel about life? What's going on in your mind? What are you thinking? This is my direction now. It used to be, listen, I don't know what's going on with you, but you need to tighten up. I don't know who done said what to you, but you're not going to bring that energy in this house. This is a house of peace. But then again, there you go. Now the kids is gonna get to the point where they're gonna shelter everything in, because they say, well, I can't talk to Pop because every time I talk to him, now I'm getting a lecture. But see, now it's like, okay, so Mario, what's going on with you? You all right? If there's anything that you talk about, you can let me know. Don't let me find out something that you and your mama been talking about something and I need to know about. Because some of the conversation that need to be said need to be taught men to men. Your mama can only say, and so with some women, they can only say what they have experienced in life. So, but now we come and tell you what life is, what it's really about. So now it's at that point now where I just have to just sit and just listen to you. It bothers me because now I choose to speak my mind, but I say, you know what? You tell me what's going on.
I'm the same way. You got it?
Huh?
I'm the same
Tell
way.
me what's going on.
You gotta sit there and listen to them. No.
Now I gotta sit here and listen to you, and I want to say something.
Yeah. See
But I just listen to what you got to say. So then I just end up saying, well, you know what? Either you're gonna learn the hard way, or you're gonna learn the either way. But if you listen to me, I'm gonna tell you what's right. But the issue is with most parents, the ones that have wives and husbands in the house at the same time.
That's what I was just about to touch on.
We would say one thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then they turn right around and go, man, Mama, what you think?
Right, because that's what I was just gonna say. And sometimes boys can't have conversations with the men. They be like, I ain't gonna talk to dad about this. Let me go to mama, cause mama go, cause we coddle them.
So you better go talk to your daddy.
Right, and then that's what I do. I be saying, this is not,
so much, y'all
this is not my era, right? This is not my lane, baby.
Yeah.
This your daddy
Yeah.
lane. So I think I can give you my opinion about it, but ultimately I would like you to talk to your dad about it, because he would be able to give you more of a better insight on it. And that piggybacks on what you're saying, how you just knowing that having that person no longer there available to you in that household, it makes a tremendous difference. Even just because they know it's not present, they'll try you because they know ain't no man finna come up here and say, boy, you better bow down.
Yeah.
Oh, but he knows.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying in
He knows.
certain
Like I can call him joke, like, hey, but he knows his circle is so strong, his village is so strong, to where I said, oh, hold on, let me call. He's like, no.
Right.
But that was because I saw it early on.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want him to go through what I see and what I teach. I teach my boys in my classroom who are broken. And we don't have the programs in the school where the police officers used to come in, like they stripped all of those.
The PAL program and all that.
Yeah, and so we had DARE, we had all of these things growing up. They don't have those programs. They stripped the programs from our schools, so the young men, they don't have the outlets. So they don't have that, and so it's only so much Miss Henry can do. Let me see if I can call somebody and direct you, or have somebody come up and talk to you. But other than that, it breaks my heart. So I didn't want my son to go down that path.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like I raised my two daughters. I took them from their mom. You meant to take them? Yeah, I did, because their mom was an unfit mother. So I took them from their mom at a very young age, and I raised them girls all, saying. And even now, when we sit around, we talk, my daughter always tell me, Dad, I thank you. I thank you for your strictness. I didn't understand at the time. Now my baby daughter, she have a son. And I sit back, when they come over to the house, I sit back and I laugh, because some of the things that she say and the way she be talking to him, I say, okay.
Come from you.
Huh?
Come from you.
Yeah. Boy, you better get some. Did I tell you, when you come over somebody's house, you sit down. Don't be running around in folks' house.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, if you going in that refrigerator, you better get out that refrigerator. This ain't your refrigerator. I'm like, okay, I see you. Okay. I say, okay, Malik. But my oldest daughter don't have a child. But it just how they sit around and they talk, and they say, Dad, you know what? I was sharing with Chris. I said, my older daughter said, Dad, you know what? You were really child abusing us when we were growing up. Daddy, you could have went to jail.
Not back in them days.
Not back in them days.
These days you have, but back then everybody in the neighborhood can be. You can get about 5 whoopings and come home and get a beat too.
So I would tie them up, whether we in school, in church or not. I would do like my dad. I go up there and take you by your ear.
Yeah.
But see, now they appreciate it. They tell me all the time, well, Dad, I appreciate it. Yeah, what did you do? That's how my children get.
Well, me, I just want to, chime in on what we were speaking about with the kids and being able to get across to them. Me just visualizing and seeing, with dealing with kids, and I ain't gonna just say boys, I'm just saying kids in general, and knowing this generation, like you said, they got so much distraction. Mm-hmm. And I always put myself in that situation in the sense of, now I know what I was doing at 9. I know what I was doing at 11 with what I had. These folk got 100 times more than what I had. Mm-hmm. So why am I expecting for these kids to think better than what I'm thinking now? Because as an adult, we get stuck. But we can get in that phone, we can get on TV, whatever it is, it's so much out here that the entertainment, it'll snatch us. Mm-hmm. But now, we grown. We've been going through this, so we should know how to deal with it a whole lot better than what we do. But we don't. And what I'm saying is, us as adults, we don't see that. Because who gonna check me?
Right. I pay my own bill.
Right.
That's the first thing.
If I want to stay up, I stay up and then wake up 2 hours later, and then my body is tan on me. It's showing in my eyes, it's showing in the way I move. That's the one that's gonna tell me, but we ain't got nobody to check us. But now us, we can check our kids. So we seeing our kids going through all this stuff that we wasn't big enough and bad enough to go through, and still try to maintain. Still try to have some kind of self-respect. Still try to have some kind of self-dignity. And like you said, you were speaking about that with the feeling comfortable with speaking. That's a component of mine. Because I'm one of those type of people, I love to talk. And I know when I was growing up, I was one of the ones that I want to talk, I want to tell everything. I want to just open up and just share. You know what I'm saying? Because I learned that makes me feel better. You know what I'm saying? Because I got so much in me, if I just let it out, I don't care if it's me learning something, teaching it to people, I don't care. If me having something, I want to share it. I'm just that type person. And what you said was, the kids, with the youth now, they don't have that they can open up with. So it caused them to shut down. And when they do try to open up, get what we say? Nigga, what's wrong with you? Why are you acting like that? Man, do you? And we not even thinking about what they just encountered. We not thinking about they just was in school and everybody scrapped. Really? And they the only one that ain't got no gun. You see what I'm saying? But then when we was in school, now it's about knuckling up.
Yeah, right.
And if you had a scrap or something, it's a knife. Right. Or it's one of them little pocket knives or something. You see what I'm saying? But now, no, these guys got extendos, and
right.
They got switches, they got all this stuff. I'm scared of that. Now,
right.
as an adult, I'm scared of that. You
right.
see what I'm saying? So to hear and to see a child come and not knowing how to vocalize that because we already in our mind, well, you can't handle them jokes bullying you, or you can't do this, or you. Now they don't want to talk. Cause you know what? You don't even. You already off, so let me not even say nothing to you.
Right.
Let me just keep it in, and let me just chill, and let me find somebody that I see going through what I'm going through. Now that's who I'm gonna link up with. Right. Now we can meet, but now they don't join the gangs. Right. Because them the one that can understand the language, and I think that's what it is. We just got to understand their language and not put our past up to their present. If that makes sense, because we'll bring our past in. How we were brought up and put it in their lap as if they supposed to respond the way that we respond. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, because they come in and say, he would say, well, mama, you should be super proud of me. I should be like he really feel he supposed to get this Tesla. And I'm like, well, what want you to get this? He was like, okay, I could be going, you gotta look at all this stuff I have to beat every day. He was like, I got to beat the boys with the pistols. I ain't out there with the boys I have to save the boys because he the one that can pull them in. He be like, this boy got a D1 offer. He can't even stay on the field because he messing around. I'm telling niggas, look, man, one of us got to make it because I play baseball. It's probably, I might make it, but you might make it quicker because you playing football. You get D1 and you out here tripping. He said, I could be stealing cars, mama. I could be smoking weed. As an athlete, I tried weed. It ain't for me. And I know as an athlete, I can't go nowhere with that. So when he say, yeah, I got a 3.8 grade point average in 11th grade around that, and I'm in the hood going to school. Ain't like I'm in because he told me, I had him in private school. He was like, I'm not the private school type. I ain't never got on no bus, mama. Boy, black kid, I ain't never got on no bus. I want to go like black kid, I want to go and see what the real world, I don't keep me in these private schools because they shelter. So when I did allow him to start going into like a private school setting, he was like, boy, they got guns. They go thief on lunch. They go steal cars and joyride. They go do all this. So he said, mama, I'm not involved in none of that. And I know it's like some of my good friends go do it. But I don't participate with it. And I try to tell them, hey, man, not today. Not today. You know what I'm saying? If it's just work, if it's just something you got to do your thing, but you ain't got to do that. It's so many other things you can do. So I like the fact that he is vocal with them, even in the peer circle. He's able to get to them because I always try to tell him, you're a leader. And you're not because everybody ain't a leader, but you're a born leader. You're a Leo in your blood. It's leadership. So why would you not emphasize on that? If you don't, sometimes he want to be the kid in the back. He don't want to talk. But I'm like, sometimes you got to vocalize yourself because somebody need to hear you. You got a daddy at home. Look at about 5 people around you in your school, and 90% of them ain't got a daddy at home. They don't have a daddy. So the things that you take for granted because it just come easily for you, it don't come easily for them. You feel what I'm saying? So you got to be able to filter that because this is what you asked for. You want to be in this disenfranchised situation. So now you got to, that's what you got to feed back out of it. But it works for him because I'm proud of him. 11th grade, 3.8 grade point average, topping himself in baseball. And baseball is not a black man's sport. So he got to work 90% of the time. He is, no, it's not. Every team he play on.
It ain't a white sport.
It's a white sport.
That's the form.
Hey, that's good, man.
No,
That's good what you're doing.
It's a
I mean, I'm hip too. I watch baseball.
Yeah, but when you've been in
it's
it
not a
since
black
3 years
man's
old and you spend $50,000 a year like I do with that baseball, you'll see the technicalities what you deal with because the teams he played for, just to get on the team is $5,000. A bat is $800. A glove is $450.
Yep.
So sometimes I have to, not pay this to try to pay this, and then you ain't the only child. Now he is, so it's a little bit lighter on me. But you gotta think, when my other kids want to do swimming and all this stuff, he's taking all the money because he got training $700. And if you don't train in baseball, it's not like football. Football is a contact sport, so you can just easily get back in there. Baseball, that's why they pay you so much because it's a thinking sport. And then it's a physical, so you got to think and react at the same time.
So
everybody don't have it.
So he deserved that tussle then. That's why he needed to get into You just said that. You just highlighted the reason why when he needed that tussle.
He's like, he want that tussle. He said, I want that tussle.
Hey, that's awesome, man. That's
Congratulations. Yeah.
3.8, that's good, man. I had a 2.5. The teachers gave that to me.
And these days in time, we gonna get out of saying the dad ain't at home, cause sometimes the mom's not at home. Cause
They
be
I know a couple people that don't raise their child without the mom.
Those be better kids
Mom
to
done
me.
done left and done everything. So these days in time, we got to stop saying the daddy.
I feel like when the daddy raised the kids though, and I just literally seen that because when I go, sometimes I go out the country, I might be gone 4 months. When I come, I be, thinking, okay, is the household together? Did y'all do this? Did y'all do that? When I come back, I'm thinking my house gonna be under disarray. It's more quieter, it's more structured.
It be y'all.
It be me in the
I used to tell my wife this every day. As soon as my wife open up that bedroom door, boom. We just be looking at her. As soon as we go back in the room, we all be looking at each other like, shh.
She out of here.
Yeah. Like, man, she be in Jamaica, boy, be so quiet around there.
Yeah, I think it's a statistic behind that, being, single fathers raising their children and kind of, the outcome, and at the same time, I still think, both parents are so essential. That nurture, the executive just got to get on the same page.
That's it.
Because if they're not on the same page, you can't expect the children to be on the same page.
That's when they're gonna be playing.
They're gonna play in both sides, but yeah, I absolutely love the 2-parent household. The children are less likely to develop diseases. They're less likely to be in jail, to have mental disabilities. When you have a 2-parent household, it's so many positive things just with both parents, being in the household. It's just tremendous. So
I think that's true, and I think of all the parents that's single, because it still be hard when we got my wife with me, and it still be hard. You know what I'm saying? We still got to come together to make it meet. You know what I'm saying? So I be thinking of other parents that's raising them by themselves.
Yeah,
I know it's hard.
I know it's hard.
It's got to be.
It's hard, but it doesn't have to be contentious. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't have to be a situation where, you know, the mother or the father are at each other's throats. You know, and that has to come with, you know, intelligence and somebody pushing themselves down, even if it's just for a second. Hey, look, you might have had a bad day. You know, okay, cool, I got it. Don't worry about it. So it's those type things where if the, you know, we don't have to be in total sync. I don't have to agree with you, you don't have to agree with me. But when it comes to this kid right here, that's the focus. You know, however you feel about me is how you feel. You have your right. Same, vice versa. You have your right. But when it's about that young man or that young lady, all that stuff, that it don't have to be blurred lines. You know, you can coexist because it makes sense. You know, so my situation don't have to be blurred lines. You know, I'm okay, cool. How you doing? You know, because I treat it like it's a business. See, when you get in that mindset, it's intelligence, it's IQ. Hey, how you doing, mister? You know, because that's how I treat it. And so I don't get all up in the feelings and I'm not triggered by stuff because I'm treating it as like it's a business. Hey, how you doing? Da, 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 da. And then so it's like, now I can get straight to the business. Hey, this little baby need blah, 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 blah. And then that's how it ends. Until, you know, the other person's at that point to where they can, you know, come to the table and say, hey, look, you know what, you ain't so bad after all. What's up, my dog? You know, that type of stuff. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because that's where it is. Now it's like, what's up? You know, hey, I'm gonna send you this video, da da da. It doesn't have to be like that. But sometimes it takes the other parent just pushing themselves down just for a second. You know, you don't have to be up here all the time. It's just a matter of, hey, let me push myself down. Because it's not about me. It's about the kid.
I appreciate you being a resilient mother in your son's life.
Thank you.
My mother was a single mother too. My dad was in prison, you know, and so I think he could have had a lot of influence on my decision making, you know, with him being home. But I do appreciate my mother's sacrifices and
but it
taking me from Stone Mountain to Gresham Park.
It made you better though. It made you better though, because I grew up without a father. I saw him 2 times. That was it. But that made me a better man. That made me a better man. I done been married twice. They done had kids and everything. I treat them just like they are mine. You divorce me, whatever. Hey, if you need me, I'm still here. Cause I divorced your mama. I didn't divorce y'all. So I'm still the man that's gonna continue to be here for you regardless. But hey, if you wanna fall back and run the mama, hey, that's on you. But I'm that type of person, man. I can't leave mine. I'm talking about mine's done left, and I'm still sitting there like, ooh, now this what these women had to do? Band practice and football practice and still gotta come home and do and cook and and still figure out how to pay the bills and all that. I was like, oh, that's what these women went through. Oh, hey, it's the truth.
That baseball stuff. That's weird.
Listen, you speaking to a baseball mom too. And the same sentiment, $400 bag, and it's like, Mom, I got to get this one because let me tell you what happened. So like, it's drop 3, and I'm like, man,
and I need this at this time because especially when that voodoo bag came out, I bought that bag twice, and I'm like, and then you got it custom. Then you get in the swag because now you got to have your drip together. So now you got to have a custom bag that got your number on it. You got to have this on here. You got to have the shoes. You got to have the elbow pad, the chin guard, the sliding mid. And I used to call it the kitchen because it looked just like the kitchen bag. The lady said, why they got that kitchen bag that they made pocket? I just bust out laughing. I was like, no, it's a sliding mid. But well, guess what? Babe Ruth didn't have no sliding mid. Your child need was sliding mid. Yeah, it's the swag, baby. It's the strip. That's what they say. They need it all. But it gives them confidence that, you know, how you look is how you play, you know. So you got to give them some kind of, you know, they give them a voice. Because sometimes, you know, like the guy started wearing the pearls. Yeah. He made a killing off of just starting a trend. And that's what I tell him. Don't be a follower. Start trends. Don't follow trends. Make them. Start them. Yeah. I don't need you going behind what somebody else do, because that means you're a follower. That means that's been done before. We in Black History Month, as we had a great program today. I'm so proud of our babies. They did a great job today. But so we got inventors. We got creators, because what our education system has been. Y'all know the Rockefellers took over our education system in the 1970s. And when they bought into the system, what they said was, we're going to give them 12 to 13 years, and you probably can back this up because you have a psychology degree on saying how long it takes to manipulate a mind. So they really manipulate our kids for 12 years and teach them a whole lot of nothing. Because when they get out in the world, and we can attest to it in some of our personal lives, that we'll go to college and we be lost. We be like, well, I think I want to do this. But you get in there and it's a whole different situation. You was like, no, I don't want to do this. But now you stuck with, you got all the student debt. Then you didn't if you would get the degree, 80% of the people are not even working in their field of degree. Yep. So now you got all this debt. You got all this, but you went to get school 12 years, and they ain't taught you nothing about life. They taught you a whole lot of nothing, because what the Rockefellers want, he don't want thinkers, he want workers.
Yeah.
So even the way they set them up, the way they even put the chairs in line, they teaching them to work on an assembly line. If he wrote a paper in the 3rd grade, they still use it right to this day, because he said he correlated jails and schools, because my brother has been in prison all his life. So he was like, when he wrote this paper, he was like, I'm correlating schools to jails, because when we change schools, that's like movement in the jail. When we go to child hall, that's like going to lunch. When we go to the rec yard, that's like going to recess. And then why is it that they always ring a bell? That's to always keep us on movement. Even when you train dogs, you put them at, anytime you use that bell, they know they getting a treat. A lot of trainers use bells, because that's teaching you how to train something. Now, we are humans. We don't need to be trained. We need to be taught, but not trained. But see, they make us think that we're being taught when they're training. And if you go to 12 years of just, they training your mind to do this, and do that, and do this. They always setting you up to go to jail. Because by the time you get 16, you can't even be taught. Now, some other parents can't even talk to the children. And some other, like literally in the hood, the parents scared of the children. They got, just like you said, it's steno clips. They bringing it, they come in their child room late night and finding pistols everywhere, weed everywhere. And they was like, what you gonna tell me? You got me over here in this hood accessible to where I can get this. So how you gonna tell me I can't use it?
But I think the other part to that would be because of educators, my philosophy is always to teach the whole child, right? So yeah, I'm here, I know content, I know all these things. However, if I can drop a gem, I'm going to drop a gem, right? Because that's all I know, So I think that's kind of what the education system is missing. Now we just have a lot of seat fillers. We have a lot of vacancies in education. Teachers are leaving in droves. And so we have a lot of vacancies. We have a lot of subs who don't understand the interpersonal connections that they are supposed to make with these children, because we're supposed to be helping them make their lives will be transitioned, like they're supposed to be changing their lives. We're supposed to be changing their lives. They should be able to look back and be like, dang, I remember my 1st grade teacher. I know all of my teachers from 1st grade, from kindergarten,
me too,
all the way up until my senior year. All of my teachers played a part in my life, right? And so those things, that's what students should be able to go back and do. And so, that's the part where I think a lot of our students that they're missing, our kids, they're missing that. They're missing those relationships. I remember even just me growing up in the hood, we was hood rich. And so at the end of the day, because my daddy made it like that, he was like, no, you're not finna go over here. You're gonna stay right here. We got it, but you're gonna stay right here. But it was about having it's like you said, exposure. I was that kid that went international. I was that kid that went other places although in my neighborhood, what you did for the summer? I'm sitting back and I'm not saying anything because my peers, they didn't go anywhere. You know, so those type things. And then my mom would start waking up and seeing that. They're like, hey, invite so-and-so over here. Come on, we finna go do this. We're doing this. We're moving as a unit. And so that is that part. We don't have the village even in our neighborhoods no more. You know, it's every man for themselves. Your neighbors really not your neighbors.
Even your family. We don't even get like family reunions. You remember how family reunions used to be hitting, boy. We used to can't wait to go to the family. Like, we like, now you get family reunions, half of them ain't coming because they ain't talking. I'm like, what? This is more like a community right here. Like just this conversation alone, because you got open-minded people that are willing to listen and willing to hear, you know, what our community needs, what our youth needs. And people, and you opening up your doors to say, listen, I see it's a need. And let me call, even though I'm one person, but let me gather the people around me and bring my community in and help the kids. Because these kids, you look at them as if they your kids, the same way you correlate to your classroom. These my babies, because they under my leadership. You know what I'm saying? And if something happens to you will hurt just like it's your own child. Yeah. So that international and all that exposure and you being that genuine person that you will, give thanks to you because it's not a lot of teachers that are in it for the real reason. They in it for a paycheck, and that's why the turnaround rate is they there 2-3 years and they burnt out from teaching in 4 years. And it's some people been teaching 30 years and still, you know, because they got a passion for it.
6 months. That's how they walk it out.
That's what I'm saying. They can't take it because they come in it for the wrong reason and the intention isn't there. Mm-hmm. So when the intention ain't there and you confront it with it on a day-to-day basis, you break down because you like, oh no, this ain't for me.
But think about the mental effect they have on the students, because now in the student head, they think this.
Give up so easy.
Guess what? No, they're like, now here's another person walking out on me. Mm. And that's how my students on my team, we had 2 teachers to walk out. And so those 2 teachers, the students are like, you know, we that bad. They don't love us that like that. It's another person walking out. Like I had students that say, hey, Miss M, she walked out like my mama walked out. She just got her bag and she left. And that's how children in the mindset of kids, they don't think like us, like Mario said, they don't think like us. We would know how to handle a situation like that. I can just shut it down. All right, you gone, keep stepping. But a kid, depending on what it is they dealt with in their little lifespan, they see it as another adult walking out on them.
Mm-hmm. Like you say, that's a deeper issue. Deeper issue. Well, you know what? Time has been far spent too, y'all. So we actually at 7:01. So yeah, that is the time. That is a good wrap up. I'll let you finish and I can just close out.
Yeah. Hey, I just, thank y'all for being here, for listening, God called many, but only few come, only few arrive. And as I said, I'm not so concerned about, quantity, but quality. And I think this was a nice quality time with each other, and I just encourage whatever we got out of here, for me, whatever I got out of from you all, that we just take it back home, take it back into our communities, and let them share. And lastly, I was inspired in 2023 when Chris from the church brought me to come speak, and I realized that I wanted to be on a mission to make mental health treatment, free and accessible to all. And so I started a foundation, James Eddy Mental Health Foundation, which was my father and a psychiatrist in the 80s and 90s. And so I'm continuing his legacy, and I'm pushing to make therapy free for all. So if you ever feeling, inspired or led to donate, you can either scan the code on my back, you can go to jefmentalhealth.org, and you can help that way. But it is to make therapy free and accessible to all, so people can deal with those deeper issues, and we can start fixing our community individually and corporately. Yeah. So thank you.
Well, I just want to say, man, I appreciate you for accepting that offer, man, and coming, because we can see, like you said, ain't about the numbers, but just understanding, especially when we know that a lot of people need this, man. And when you go send invitations out and people don't adhere to it, when you know that they need it, like you said, that's that trigger. You know, you got good triggers and bad triggers. So that tends to kick off that other trigger where it's like, come on, man, y'all tripping. But when the smoke clear, and we just really sit down and can assess what's really going on, we see that God always have his hands in it. And he know exactly what he doing, how he doing it, how he want to do it. And me just saying, maybe we had it like we've been having it with a whole bunch of people in here, we probably wouldn't been able to do an open dialogue like the way we just did. Because seriously, to hear from these women, well, they on fire. But that's the thing, though. You know, that's what we need. And like you say, by y'all, him coming, you got some people, they come with their kids, they drop the kids off and they leave. So they're not able to share it together. Y'all got something to go home and talk to, and both of y'all will understand what y'all talking about. But if you would have dropped him off, then he would, mama, then you be like, oh, yeah, okay, baby, okay. You see what I'm saying? So I really appreciate everybody. That's what I'm saying. I appreciate everybody for coming out, even Elder Lemons.
Yes,
I'm talking about, he surprised me with showing up,
yes.
you know? But that's why I say it was the value, you know what I'm saying? Not the quantity, you know what I'm saying? It was the quality of what made today, you know what I'm saying, today. And I really appreciate y'all. So, you know, I don't want to, you know, talk y'all ears off, man. I know we got a lot to do, places to go and people to see. So we're going to release y'all.